Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the new adventure fantasy Erzulie, and also I guess a little bit of horror too because people get mutilated by a mermaid, of all things in this show. In this film, and this is from writer-director Chen, who tells the story of four friends, four women, who reunite on this trip into like the swamps, the bayous, and all of them are bringing some baggage, a lot of hurt and trauma. And one of them, specifically played by Courtney, Olivier, Wendy, she does this ritual to bring back Erzulie, who is a mermaid played by Leila, Anastasia Scott. And Erzulie comes and wreaks vengeance upon the men and tries to get these women some justice. And each of them bring their own baggage, and I think the biggest one, Zoe Graham's character Faye, she had an abusive relationship, and she's like, oh, but I loved him. And it's just like, guy was a piece of crap. And it's still a piece of crap. It treats you like crap. And, you know, he finds his wrong way onto the wrong end of this mermaid. And it brings a lot of tension amongst the group. But their dynamic, I feel like, they're believable as friends. They each have their own thing going on. They do go into some interesting places, like two of them start fooling around with each other. It's like, I had an abusive boyfriend. Maybe I'll try out women now. And it's just like, okay. And, you know, there's tension that boils up between them. But then there's a lot of moving pieces here, especially towards the third act of this film. And there's a lot of supporting characters that get drawn in. A lot of the, like, an antagonist, Jason Kirkpatrick's Rhett Lafitte. He's the guy who like renting this place to them. He's just a scumbag. And all of his cronies are a bunch of scumbags, and like you're just waiting for them to get like demolished by this mermaid. And you're just like, when's that gonna happen? Because like they're just so flatly written as just like horrible, crappy characters, and you're just like, well, I guess eventually they're gonna get messed up. And then we're going to be happy. And waiting for that point, you're just like, just bring it on. And that's the thing. This film, you could tell it's low budgeted, but I appreciated the like effects creating the mermaid. I thought it looked pretty decently believable for a film that has such a low budget. I did think that the film lacked some personality from a stylistic standpoint. It's basically just like, well, we have a camera, we have some film, digital, let's shoot a movie. And from that standpoint, there's not a whole lot to actually appreciate from a technical standpoint. But from a story standpoint, I do feel like this is pretty flatly written in terms of, like, the themes are very on the nose, are very on the surface. This is very much a feminist parable. And just like, okay, we get that. It's pretty obvious. And when you don't have to really think about it, you don't think about it. And I think that's one of the problems. It doesn't really engage you with the themes. It's just like, well, boom, there they are. Agree? And you're watching, it's like, well, there's some, even the moments with like the action in it aren't particularly shot in a way that it's like really interesting to watch what's happening, because a lot of times you can't even tell what the hell's going on. They do have some gore, they do have some blood, but not enough for this to be like scratching the itch of somebody like that's what you want to get out of this. I do feel like there's some moments where it's like I couldn't tell if it's trying to be campy or not, so it lacked tension to me. Especially with like the opening scene, it seemed like, oh, this just feels like a setup of like somebody's making a joke, somebody gets pulled under the water. And then by the time you notice there's some blood there, then you're like, oh, well, I guess that wasn't a joke. But then you don't have that tension. And I think there's a couple of moments like that in this film. In general, I think there's a interesting, like, folk kind of idea of, like, the mermaids. And, you know, they do, like, old kind of, like, Cajun ritual to, like, bring her about. And, you know, you go about this movie and it's just like they're trying to keep this mermaid alive. This mermaid trying to make some men not alive. And they're all trying to deal with their own problems. And I think it's fine. I think this is an okay little film. I think it does a fine job of like, hey, Will it keep your attention for an hour and 25 minutes? Probably. Maybe. I don't know. I'm going to have to watch it to find out. But in general, like, this didn't blow me away, but also this wasn't, like, horrible. This wasn't, like, I watch a movie that looks like it was made for $10 and I'm just like, I felt like I wasted my time. There's some decent acting. There's interesting concepts and themes, even if they're not very subtle or really explored in a deeper, meaningful way. But those are my thoughts on Erzulie. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.